Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with zero point 0.7 HB millimeter lead and my kneaded eraser. And here's my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristle Board 300 series with vellum surface. Okay, I have something very special for you today. In celebration of my 200th art videos on my YouTube channel, that's right, I've actually created 200 art videos. So, in celebration of that milestone, I decided to create, or should I say, I decided to draw one of my favorite childhood cartoon characters, He Man. He Man and the Masters of the Universe. So, He Man came out, I guess, back in 1983. I think it was at fourth or fifth grade. So, I was like 10 years old. And I remember I didn't know what He-Man was. I didn't know anything about He-Man until my one of my classmates brought his He-Man toy, and it just blew my mind away. It was just He-Man was just like this really jacked up steroid, this blonde Conan figure. I mean, you could clearly see like Frank Frazetta's influence all over it. And the great thing about He-Man was he was just so muscular and so, I don't know, just so powerful. The figure was just like a bodybuilder. And it had this like really gnarly sword, and his main villain was this guy with a skeleton skull for a face, and he's also like all jacked up, and they have all these like cool characters. So as soon as I saw He-Man, I said, "Holy crap!" I mean, I have to learn more about this character. And so He-Man was created by Mattel, Filmation division or company, and this was one of the first companies where they actually created the cartoon based on the toy line. So usually it happens the other way around. There's usually a show first and then the cartoon. But Mattel did it backward or did it differently. They created the toy line first. And then to sell the toys, they created the cartoon. And He-Man was that product. So the basic background of He-Man is pretty simple. It takes place in a place called Eternia, which is a planet of magic and technology and all that. And it's basically the Eternia's rulers. They're ruled by King Randor and Queen Merlina, and they have a son, Prince Adam, and I guess eventually they also added Princess Adora, who later became Shira. And so Prince Adam was the main character, and when he basically took out his sword and and basically channeled the power from this mysterious castle or fortress, Castle Grayskull, which he basically draws all his power from. So the Castle Grayskull and He-Man is like really directly connected. That's where the all of his power come from. So Prince Adam would like take his sword out and hold it high and say, I have the power, and the lightning will strike, and and he turns into He-Man. And the funny thing is, Prince Adam and He-Man looks identical. I mean, He-Man's not wearing a mask or anything. He has that same Prince Valiant kind of haircut. Look like a blonde Betty Page haircut. And so, I mean, at least Superman and Clark Kent, they have a slightly different hairstyle and wear glasses. But He-Man and Prince Adam are identical, has the same body build, and it's just identical, and no one no one knows that he's He-Man. which is absolutely hilarious. So besides that, and He-Man has his pet tiger, Cringer, which is a green tiger, and he also turns into Battle Cat, and which He-Man basically rides around. And actually, the more I think about it, the more how goofy the whole premise is. So anyway, so He-Man's main villain is Skeletor, who basically wants to conquer the Castle Grayskull, and Castle Grayskull is protected by the sorceress, and she's always losing. I never understood that. Skeletor and his warriors would come and just start battering down Castle Grayskull, and sorceress would always collapse and say, so you start pleading to He-Man, He-Man, I'm weakening. He-Man, come save me. And that's pretty much the entire episode. I mean, just yeah, they did 130 episodes for 2 seasons in 1983 to 1985, and that's pretty much the general storyline. Skeletor's trying to break into Castle Grayskull and steal the power from Castle Grayskull and the sorceress. So he becomes the most powerful force on the planet. So he can take over Eternia, and that's it. I mean, actually, I guess he has a very simple motivation. Has a very simple ambition. So anyway, as a kid, when you're in elementary school, that stuff is just like really, really powerful. Powerful stuff. You're just, and I remember me and my brothers were just glued to the TV. Watching this cartoon after school. Every day. So anyway, so the one of the key things when you draw He-Man is he has to be very, very muscular. And so when I drew this, I decided to draw him in one of the most powerful muscular pose, with his arms out. And, essentially, think of a triangle with a head. And once you have that, it's pretty easy to draw. And there I am drawing the sword. The sword is a pretty it's interesting design, and because of the toy, like it's actually kind of a short sword, and you just have to remember that. So I'm drawing the hair again. The He-Man had the very, I mean, at the time, the cartoon, just he basically has a Prince Valiant haircut. And I remember on the toy, it just looked. It's kind of weird because on the toy it looks more masculine, but in the cartoon, I guess it looks a little feminine. Um, but I remember the toy, the actual He-Man toy was just all muscles and teeth. He always had that grimace look, and yeah, I mean it was. I had a great time. I mean the one of the great thing about He-Man had like a really like a really exciting cast of characters. I mean, I mean, He-Man's right hand man. No, not He-Man's right hand man. His favorite. I mean, one of my favorite guy was Man at Arms, who was, I guess, the father of Tila, who was it Tila? Yeah, Tila. Tila. She was Prince Adam's, I guess, friend, and I was actually really excited about the Skeletor's warriors, and I thought they were some of the best gallery of rogues I've seen since Batman and Spider Man. So you have Skeletor as a head guy, and you have Beastman, Evelyn, Triclops, Merman, Trapjaw, Cobra Khan, Stinkor, Yeah, the guy who was basically a skunk man, and all these other stuff and all these other characters. But I remember I would really love I really loved Trapjaw and Man at Arms. I don't know why. I guess just like they had like really cool weapon, and Trapjaw had this like giant claw hand and all that. So yeah, He Man was just yeah. I have really fond memories of He Man. I mean, then again, I was in elementary school, so like you're just kind of like you have that nostalgia, you know. I actually saw He-Man, the original He-Man cartoons that I used to just love as a kid, and they're absolutely horrible. They're absolutely terrible, and I can't believe that I used to watch that as a kid. So anyway, um, I heard they're actually making a live action He-Man movie. They first did it back in I think it was the 90s, with Dolph Lundgren, who was Drago from Rocky Five, and I saw parts of it. I remember the. I mean, physically, Dolph Lundgren was a pretty decent cast, but I thought the story was just terrible and all that. I'm hoping that the new live action He Man movie will be a lot better than the first He Man movie. So there I'm drawing the sword. I've always like when I draw He-Man out, I always imagine Conan, there's like a certain Conan-esque energy about He-Man. I'm just erasing the stray marks around. So like when you draw He-Man, you definitely need to like really know your anatomy. So like when I learned how to draw, studied a lot of bodybuilding. I used to look through a lot of bodybuilding magazines, and used to copy some of the poses, and all the muscle grouping, all that. And so, with that in my background, in my arsenal, this He-Man pose was pretty easy to draw for me. The guy who did this really beautiful that not quite a double bicep pose, but who just kind of like have his arm out in this flare pose. What was it? There was a just absolutely one of the most one of the best bodybuilders of all time, Sergio, who's a Cuban bodybuilder in the 1960s and 70s. He had this great pose like that. It's the pose that I'm drawing. He had a very similar pose with this arm out and all that, and he had this narrow waist with this great upper body. So Sergio, the myth, one of the few guys who ever beat Arnold in a bodybuilding competition. And another, not a modern bodybuilder, but another bodybuilder from like 1990s to early 2000, a guy who had that was one of his favorite pose was Lee Priest. Lee Priest was an Australian bodybuilder back about like 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, 20 years ago. And he was just another absolutely incredible physique. And that was one of his favorite poses that I'm drawing right now. Yeah, I'm trying to make the hair a little bit more dynamic. I mean, the short bob haircut, the Prince Valiant haircut. I never got used to it. It just looked like Dorothy Hamill, the figure skater. But yeah, as I was reading. I think I read some background history about He-Man, and I think they said the original designer, one of their main influence was Frank Frazetta. So they wanted like that kind of the Frank Frazetta power, and I thought they did a really good job of capturing that. The if you guys ever get a chance, go go look at the original 1980s He-Man action figure. It was really tight. I mean, for its time, it was really, really tight and very dynamic. I thought the whole character, the sculpt on that action figure was just dynamic. So with the success of He-Man, they decided to do. I guess they got the He-Man was geared toward the boy audience, and then I guess they tried to get some of the girl consumer by creating Shira. Shira, who was a brother of Prince Adam. I mean, not brother. I mean, the sister of Prince Adam. And I guess she got the same power through Castle Grayskull. I don't know why the two siblings, Prince Adam and Princess Adora, were granted the power from the Castle Grayskull. I don't think they ever explained that. So yeah, Prince Adam became He-Man and Princess Adora became She-Ra. Again, when they change into their alter ego, there there is no difference physically, face wise, body wise. They look exactly the same, and yet no one knows that they're Prince Adam or Princess Adora. I think that's just poor writing. I think that's just poor writing in general. So I think I remember. I think they did a He-Man comic book too. It's I think in some of the toy boxes, it came with a little mini comic book, and I thought that was really cool. Man, I wish I could. I wish I could remember who drew the interior of that. But I think I remember they got pretty decent artists. I mean, did they get Alfred Alcala? I think Alfred Alcala drew one of the comics or something like that. He was this great Filipino artist, comic book artist, who did a lot of Conan stuff. I may be wrong. I mean, it's been a very long time. It's been like 30, 40 years since I've seen that comic. So when you're drawing the arm, make sure the arm is very similar to. There's a term for it. The arm and the leg are very similar or symmetrical in their how their muscles are grouped together. So the tricep on the human body is very similar. The muscle grouping is very similar to the the quadricep of the leg, and the bicep is basically is a almost a mirror image of the hamstring on the leg, and the forearm is identical to not identical but similar to the calf muscle, and the wrist and the ankle. So you get the gist. So with that in mind, all the legs and the arms, it should taper. So the bicep is the in bodybuilders anyway. The bicep is the biggest. Bicep, tricep area, upper arm is the biggest, and then it kind of like tapers down into the forearm and then the hand. Same with the legs. You should have the quad and the hamstring should be the thickest, and then as it tapers down to the calf, it has a nice taper to it. So the elbow and the knees and all that. So there's a term for it. I forgot what the term is. Like there's a medical, like anatomy term for that. Man, I can't remember it. But you guys get the gist. Now, so He Man has this chest harness, and has this, I guess, like the Iron Cross in it. So I remember in the new cartoons they got rid of that. They just kind of turn it into like a big giant H for He Man. But in the original cartoon and the toy, it has this basically this giant red Iron Cross symbol on it. I guess they probably got rid of it because it didn't they didn't want any like German connotation, you know, with the red cross. Yeah, I wonder why Skeletor had got that skull face. I don't know. I mean, this the more I the more I research the He-Man stuff, the more the more silly it is. Um, but it's good. I mean, He-Man was great. He-Man was great. I mean, I'm making fun of it, but when I was a kid, I mean, He-Man was the bomb. Um, I actually love the toys a lot better than the cartoons. I mean, I remember, God, I was so jealous when one of my friends got that giant Castle Grayskull, uh, which was a massive thing. And the really bad part about Castle Grayskull, the figures were just a little too big, so it just wasn't quite the scale as the Castle Grayskull should be. But the overall design of it, and the scope of the toy was pretty impressive, especially in the early 1980s. I mean, that was just unheard of. There I am drawing the sore. It kind of looks a little bit like the Conan sore from Conan the Barbarian, um, with Arnold, that Arnold Schwarzenegger sword. You know. Yeah, there's a new movie coming out. I have no idea who's playing He Man. I think it's kind of like an unknown guy, or not, or basically unknown to me. I'm pretty sure he's some young heartthrob. They got from one of these like some TV shows or low budget movie. So since I just reached the 200th video on my YouTube channel, I decided to have He Man kind of bursting out of the 200 number. So when I'm creating the number, I basically start with the basic block, rectangular block. So doing I'm kind of from old school, so I like I like doing all the hand lettering. You know, I've always had fun lettering stuff. Like nowadays, everything is done computer lettering, but I'm from the old school where I like to hand letter everything if I can. Yeah, so with He-Man just kind of bursting forth, I just want to make the numbers 200 kind of like cracking from the impact. So I'm just erasing all the stray marks so I could to give it a cleaner pencil. I'm just drawing the cracks. The guy who does like really beautiful cracks on rocks and stuff like that is John Byrne. John Byrne did this beautiful like rock textures and all that. John Byrne, another guy who's really great at drawing this rocky texture is Mobius. Then again, Mobius can draw anything. He's one of the top artists of all time. Mobius, and then there's another guy, Jeff Darrow. I mean, Jeff Darrow is like one of my favorite artists of all time. And I mean, those guys just can draw like rock textures like nobody's business. So He-Man has that belt. Just erasing the pencil line. So this is the pencil stage. Is just don't worry about if things looks off or something like that. Just erase it. As the old saying goes, if it looks right, it's right. If it looks wrong, it's wrong. And if it's wrong, just erase it. Erase it and just fix it. Don't be too precious with your drawing. If you mess up, don't worry about it. It's just a pencil stage, and just erase it. Now the key to drawing these like this stony texture, rocky texture, is to make everything kind of blocky and robust, and then drawing these like this crack, just across the surface. I actually really enjoy rocking these rocky textures. It actually calms me down. I mean, I could probably just like mess around with it for like hours. Now, if I was inking this, I would be just like cross hatching like crazy. If you notice, I've been doing these vertical shading, which kind of like it kind of like draws those shading line kind of almost like pointing, giving it the sense of movement, and also it kind of points toward the figure, and also you notice that I'm only shading the bottom half of the numbers, which makes the upper half kind of light. By doing so, you have like a kind of bit like a spotlight on causing this spotlight effect on the figure by shading in the lower half of those numbers. And this is a fun part, just having just like chunks of rocks flying about. And also make sure when you're having these like small chunks of rocks flying, to overlap it with the main figure. I mean, it's crazy that I've done over 200 art videos on my YouTube channel, which is funny because I created this like several years ago, and then I gave up because I couldn't find a decent camera that was easy to use and that can easily transfer the file over, load into my YouTube channel. So I gave up. I actually took like 2 3 year break, and then I finally came back to it with my iPhone, because the iPhone just made everything so much easier. The camera video feature on the iPhone just made just shooting this art video so much easier, and then also able to transfer that file into the YouTube website with ease. And that's why I've been able to just crank out these art videos. I mean, eventually, as I get more, as I do more and more, I do want to make it a little bit more professional, you know. But for what it is, I mean, the iPhone has been absolutely spectacular, allowing me to draw these art videos so easily, and post it so easily. But eventually, I kind of want to be a little bit more professional. And so, if you guys know anyone, could help me out making my making these art videos more professional, just let me know, or basically give me instructions on how to make it look more professional, like getting like cameras, actual a decent camera, and light setup and all that stuff, and editing. Actually, that sounds like a full-time job. So, well, never mind. I mean, the more I think about it, I think it's gonna be just kind of a bit overwhelming, because as everyone knows, I'm like the only Asian who's really suck at technology. So, who knows? Maybe if once this my page becomes popular and I'm just creating decent amount of revenue, maybe I should take all that revenue and just hire someone full time and to do all this for me. Kind of like similar to what Dave Finch did. Dave Finch got like a professional guy who kind of helped him with all of his video. So yeah, I pretty much got everything done now. I am just kind of like thickening the outline of the numbers and the figure to kind of make it more stand out more. Chunks of rock. Yeah, I just broke the lead right there. I noticed that when I draw, I tend to like press down too hard on it, and then so I often break my lead all the time. Erasing stray marks and adding more chunks, tweaking the face a little bit, adding more features, adding little smile lines, wrinkles in the face a little bit, adding the carotid arteries of the neck. striation on the chest. Cleaning the outline of the drawing. More rocks, more chunks of rock, more debris flying in the air. And I think I'm done. I'm basically erasing all the stray marks. And there it is. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Celebrating 200th video.